Scape and Run Parasites has received a 1.9.0 and 1.9.1 update, which means there's new content to explore and changes to current content to cover. This video is only covering the most recent updates to the mod, so this is by no means a full mod review. There are new parasites that have been added in, and older parasites have received some tweaks. Let's take a look at the new additions first. The host is a ground-dwelling mob with a surprise. It has 50 health points and 7 armor points. It will reside in the ground and occasionally move around, spreading infected residue as it travels. This residue spawns raptors. When you come into range with the host, it will show you its true form. This is the only time you can attack it. The parasite will shoot fleshy projectiles that will explode after a small duration. After the host dies, the residue will remain, but it will no longer spawn raptors. The Enderman has joined the assimilated family. It has 55 health points, 5 armor points, and deals 13 health points. Unlike normal Enderman, the assimilated Enderman is not affected by water. This Enderman still teleports like normal, but it can also teleport other parasites too. And this parasite is fast, so good luck getting away from it. Joining the assimilated Enderman, there is now an assimilated bear. It has 40 health points, 5 armor points, and deals 13 health points. Apart from being absolutely horrifying, this parasite doesn't have any tricks up its decaying corpse. The Grunt is another new mob in this update. It has 20 health points, 7 armor points, and deals 13 health points. This parasite puts Michael Jordan to shame with his incredibly giant leaps. It will perform these leaps at a target. The Marauder can be considered the adult version of the Grunt. It has 90 health points, 20 armor points, and deals 30 health points. Just like the Grunt, it performs giant leaps at a target. For our last new parasite, there is now a human walking head. It has 5 health points and deals 3 health points. This head falls off the assimilated adventurer when it's killed. The head will do small jumps towards a target. The changes to older parasites are rather small, so I'll quickly go over them. The Yellow Eye's health has been increased from 15 to 30 health points, and its range damage has been increased from 4 to 5. The Mandicator's health has been increased from 18 to 30 health points, and its damage has been increased from 8 to 12. To go along with that, its attack multiplier has gone down from 2 to 1.5, and its adapted version's multiplier has been lowered from 3 to 2. The Summoner's health has been increased from 35 to 40 health points, and its damage has been increased to 15. Lastly, the Reeker's health has doubled, and its damage has been increased by 2. The adapted Reeker's health has gone from 35 to 50 health points, and its damage is now 20. Primitive, adapted, pure, and ancient parasites can now adapt to damage types. This means if you use the same type of damage against these classes, you'll eventually do no damage to them. Change to a different damage type to negate this. Also, Kyphosis, Sentry, and all beckons now adapt to damage types, and they now have a damage cap. Several parasites have received swimming animations and water AI improvements. This means they will be able to reach you anywhere in water now, which is terrifying. A few parasites have new attack animations. The adapted Bolster, both long arms, and the Warden. Also, these parasites now do AoE with their attacks, which means they can hit more than one entity. Finally, the adapted Bolster and adapted long arms now have increased range. Beckons stage 1 through 3 and the Sentry have new growl and death sounds. Additionally, the Sentry has shooting sounds. A couple of parasites have new textures. The adapted Bolster, adapted Summoner, and Kyphosis have a new look now. Parasites will burst upon death and leave behind a lingering cloud. This cloud will apply poison and Call of the Hive. More on Call of the Hive and other status effects later. For the final section of the changes to the mobs, we have a variety of different things. Raptors now leap at targets, and their follow range has doubled from 16 to 32. Sentry and Kyphosis only spawn on tier 3 beckon-infested dirt, and they are now classified as deterrents. Warden, Flying Summoner, and Vigilante are now classified as pure parasites. The adapted Bolster's tentacle pool has been removed. Boss bars have been added to the Dreadnought and Overlord. Manducators will now lose their invisibility when they attack. Parasites are immune to viral and corrosive effects. Heavy/flying carriers will now release their minions upon death unless they are on fire. Their explosion will apply the viral effect to anything nearby. The only removed mob in this update is the infected Alafia, or however you pronounce its name. You will be missed, or well, probably not to be honest. There are new exciting items and changes to old items. Let's take a look at both. Adding on to the living type weapons, there is now a living great axe. It does 11 attack damage and has 0.8 attack speed. There is a new line of weapons, the Sentient Great Axe, Sentient Scythe, and Sentient Great Bow. The Great Axe does 21 attack damage and has 0.8 attack speed. The Scythe does 17 attack damage and also has 0.8 attack speed. The Great Bow does 17 attack damage on half a charge and up to 34 damage on a full charge. You cannot currently craft the sentient weapons. Lastly, there is now a dirty clock. Right-clicking it will show what evolution phase your world is in. More on evolution phases near the end of the video. 2 items have been changed, the Living Scythe and Sentient Scythe. The Living Scythe now applies bleeding to targets. Bleeding deals low damage to the target for 4 seconds. The damage is reduced based on how much armor the target has. The Scythe also now has lower range and damage in this update. The Sentient Scythe now applies bleeding to targets as well. The updates also made some changes and additions to the status effects in this mod. Call of the Hive is an effect you can get from coming into contact with some parasites. Koth has 3 tiers of amplifiers. Amplifier 0 doesn't do anything except reapply itself at the end of its duration and go to Amp 1. Amp 1 will spread Koth to other mobs and they will have Amp 0. If the entity with Amp 1 has low health, it will try to transform into an incomplete form. Amp 1 will reapply itself at the end of its duration and go up to Amp 2. Amp 2 does the same things as Amp 1, except the entity will try to turn into an assimilated version of itself. This can fail, which will result in the entity turning into an incomplete version. Fear is another effect you can get from encountering parasites. Having the fear effect will make you take more fall damage than usual. The effect can cancel interactions based on its severity. Amp 1 cancels item usage, Amp 2 cancels block usage, and Amp 3 cancels GUI usage. Parasite classes apply different levels on sight. Assimilated applies 0, Primitive 1, Adapted and Pure 2, and Ancient Parasites apply Fear Amp 3. Bleeding is similar to poison. You'll take damage over time, however this damage is increased if you move. Camouflage gives an entity increased immunity to Koth, although Ruptors and Koth clouds ignore this effect. The corrosive and viral effects are very similar. Corrosive reduces your armor value, while viral reduces your health value. Finally, an entity with the enraged effect will be given increased speed and damage. There have been a few changes to the reinforcement system. New infested wood and stone blocks have been added. There have been a few texture changes for infested blocks, and also some mechanic changes to beckons. Beckons infect stone and wood blocks. Residue blocks will not spawn beckons if there's one already nearby, and beckon stage 3 will try to spawn colonies. Lastly, infested blocks will now apply Koth when walked by it, and an infested block variant has been removed in this update. Just a few moments ago, there was a mention about colonies. Colonies are a brand new addition to the mod. Parasites can build colonies. This means stronger parasites are now able to spawn. The parasites in colonies will have increased health, armor, damage, knockback resistance, and damage cap. The parasitic biome has also seen some changes. All non-parasites will have a healing debuff. Purifiers can be used to remove the biome, and nodes are now in the mod. Beckon Stage 4 will create nodes. These nodes will spread the biome further. They will prevent the growing of trees and crops. And finally, mobs spawned within the affected range will have Koth. Now moving on to evolution phases. There are a total of 8 phases. These phases will occur once the parasites reach a specific amount of points. Parasites can gain points by killing other mobs, assimilating mobs, and infesting blocks. Since there are several phases and a lot of information to cover, I'll be going over a few phases at a time and only highlighting the important bits. Phase 0 through 2 are pretty tame. Buglins spawn naturally during Phase 0. Raptors spawn naturally, and mobs with Koth will not mutate unless at low health during Phase 1. Assimilated parasites spawn naturally, and Raptors attack normally during Phase 2. Phase 3 and 4 is where things ramp up a bit. Phase 3 makes the reinforcement system unlocked, beckons will slowly grow to Stage 2 and further, and the parasites faction will gain points passively now. Phase 4 makes primitive parasites spawn naturally, and colonies are now possible. Phase 5 and 6 is where crap hits the fan. Phase 5 makes it so players can't sleep anymore, nodes are possible now, and beckons will ignore summoning cooldown when spawning parasites. Phase 6 makes assimilated parasites and lower tier parasites stop spawning naturally, but adapted parasites are now able to spawn naturally. Normal mobs have a chance to spawn with Koth. At the end we have the dreadful Phase 7 and Phase 8. Phase 7 is where pure versions spawn naturally. Mob spawning with Koth chance is increased, and parasites ignore sunlight when spawning naturally. Phase 8 makes ancient parasites spawn naturally, and the chance for a mob to spawn with Koth increases more. At this point, you really should just cut your losses and make a new world. For the final section of this video, we have the miscellaneous stuff. There are a few new entities that can presumably spawn in the Parasite Biome, which are Gore, Tendril, and Biomass. The model has been changed for the parasitic ringlet block, and the texture has been changed for the biome purifier block. These last two changes were the only notable changes from update 1.9.1. I left out a few bits of information here and there, and I completely skipped over the config changes. But other than that, that is pretty much everything the new updates add. I used the changelog of both updates on the SR Parasites CurseForge page, so if you want to fill in any missing gaps, go check that out. Thank you for watching, drop a like on the video, and make sure to subscribe for more mod-related content like this in the future. And as always, Crimlets, stay snazzy.